My parents slammed eviction papers on the table. You have 48 hours to get out. Your sister owns this house now. Mom snapped. Pack before I have you dragged out. My sister twirled the keys. You were always wasting space. I walked out. The moment she moved in, she realized she made the biggest mistake of her life. I was 23, working as an electrician, pulling $31 an hour plus overtime. Saved for the down payment since I was 19. My parents were renting at the time. A 2-bedroom apartment that kept getting smaller as their spending got bigger. Dad lost his warehouse job the same month I closed on the house. Mom asked if they could stay with me for a couple months while he found something new. I said yes. Brooke was 20 and not doing much of anything. She was crashing at friends' places and bouncing between part-time gigs she'd quit after a week. She moved in a month after my parents did. I didn't charge any of them rent, not a dollar. I covered the mortgage, the utilities, the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance. I bought the groceries most weeks. Dad found a new job after 5 months, but neither of them ever offered to pitch in. Brooke never even looked for steady work. She stayed in the guest room and treated the house like a hotel. I'd come home after a 10-hour shift and the kitchen would be destroyed. Dishes piled up, food left out, trash overflowing. Brooke would be on the couch on her phone. Mom would say she'd been busy. Dad wouldn't say anything. I asked 3 times over 2 years for them to start contributing something. Even $300 a month between the 3 of them would have helped. Every time, Mom acted like I was being greedy. You don't charge family. Dad just shrugged. Brooke laughed and said maybe I should get a better job if I'm struggling. Last spring, I got sent to a job site 4 hours away for a 6-week project. Good pay, per diem, the whole thing. I told my parents I'd be gone, but the mortgage was set on auto pay and I'd handle everything remotely. When I came back, the locks were changed. I stood at my own front door with my key not working and called my dad. He told me to come inside through the back. They needed to talk. The 3 of them were sitting at my dining table. Dad had a folder. He slid papers across the table and said I have 48 hours to leave because Brooke owns the house now. I almost laughed. Then I looked at the papers. They'd gone to a notary while I was gone and filed a quitclaim deed transferring ownership of my house to Brooke. My dad forged my signature. Mom had kept a copy of my ID from when she helped me open a bank account years ago. They used it to push the deed through. Brooke sat there smirking, twirling the house keys like she won a prize. Mom told me to pack before she calls the police. Dad said it was time for me to move on and let my sister have a real start in life. Brooke said she's already planning to convert my workshop into a lounge. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I picked up my work bag, walked out through the back door, and drove to my buddy's place. I stayed there for 3 days while I figured out my next move. On day 1, I called a real estate attorney, told him everything. He pulled the county records and confirmed the quitclaim deed was filed with a forged signature. He said this wasn't a civil dispute, it was a felony. Forgery, fraud, filing false documents with the county. On day 2, I filed a police report. The detective I spoke to said they see family property fraud more than people think, and it's taken very seriously. On day 3, I got a call from my attorney saying he'd filed an emergency motion to void the deed and freeze any activity on the property. Brooke had already tried to take out a home equity line of credit against my house. The bank flagged it because the ownership transfer was less than 60 days old. The motion blocked everything. 2 weeks later, Brooke got served. Then my parents got served. The county prosecutor picked up the case independently because forging property documents is a state crime, not just a family disagreement. Dad called me that night. His voice was shaking. He said they didn't think I'd actually do anything about it. He said Mom was hysterical and Brooke was scared. He asked me to drop everything and they'd move out quietly. I told him the deed was filed with the county using a forged signature and a stolen ID. That's not something I can just drop. The deed was voided 3 weeks later. The house is quiet now.